Social reformers who caught God's heart. I'm about to post a series of videos on social reformers who were also visionaries and also, in a sense, prophets. I say this about them because they all had a deep Christian faith and believed they were called by God to serve Him and bring about the vision He had given them. They did in fact see themselves as co-workers with God. The four people I have chosen are William Booth, founder of the Salvation Army, George Williams, founder of the YMCA, Robert Baden-Powell, founder of the Scouting Movement, and Florence Nightingale, founder of the nursing profession. I've chosen these four because they produced fruit that lasted and literally changed the world. For most of my working life, I was a psychiatric nurse, and I was always struck by the fact that modern psychiatric care really started with the Quaker Movement. The Quakers were the first to provide communities to care for mentally infirm people. I specialised in addictions, and I was always aware that the modern idea of drug and alcohol rehabilitation started with David Wilkerson and the Teen Challenge movement. All these movements sprang out of the Christian faith of their founders. Much social and healthcare has now become secularised, but let us not forget where it had its roots. I'm a traditional Christian in a sense that I believe that man is basically sinful and needs saving. I believe this from the Bible, but also from the evidence of my own senses. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. I've seen this in myself and in the world around me. People will do all kinds of evil things for money. In Victorian times, poor people were treated little better than animals. Employers would simply use people as commodities to be bought and sold, used and abused. Working people would be expected to work every waking hour in appalling conditions, and on top of that were often condemned as being lazy and feckless by their employers. The motivation for everything was money rather than love of one's fellow man. Things would be the same today if there was not legislation in place to stop this sort of exploitation from happening. I could go on and on about this subject. The world is still basically evil, but the influence of Christian reformers has acted as salt in the world to bring about changes and make ordinary people's lives more bearable. Every Christian should remember God's golden rule. Matthew chapter 7 verse 12. Therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. The Psalms tell us that one of God's characteristics is loving kindness. Another is tender mercy. I believe that all four of the above reformers had a vision for making people's lives better that was inspired by love. They actually caught God's heart. I should say that I deliberately chose them because they're all old-fashioned, and many people will regard them as Victorian and stiff, and even regard them as bad people because of the Victorian values that they held. I think the problem here is that we judge previous generations by our own modern values, and we tend to negate their achievements because they lived in a different age. But in this video, I want to honour them and uphold their faithfulness in following their visions. They lived in a world that could be cruel and heartless, but they each found a way to improve their world. They were really salt in the world. The 19th and 20th century were rife with political movements that promised change, sometimes violently. However, look at the movements these people started: nursing, youth work, social care, and scouting. Not very political sounding, but these movements will still be producing fruit when many of the old political ideologies have passed away. Loving people and caring for people is part of God's work. We are His hands and His feet. So, thank you for listening. I hope you can watch the whole series. If you found this video interesting, you can find more information at prophecy-workshop.com.